Good afternoon, everyone. We are Group F and we're going to talk about the lexical approach. We are Angela Fonseca, Daniela Castro, Noel Aragón, Leonor Santos, and me, Valeria. And now we can pass to the next slide. Well, to start with, we have to know what is lexical approach. Lexical approach starts with the idea that language learning is not about individual words, but rather multi-word chunks. It is focused on the variety of combinations of word chunks or collocations. This method tries to make the building of sentences easier. Okay, if we compare lexical approach with the grammar approach, is totally different. For example, the grammar approach in the sentence, I like to go to the park. This approach divides the sentence in 6 parts. I like to go to the park. The subject, the verb, the infinitive, the article, the preposition, and the noun. But this, for the lexical approach, is too tedious and will not help the student to master the language or to build new structures because it's too rigid and force the student to learn and memorize the words categories. Instead, the lexical approach divides these sentences in bigger and less complex pieces or in chunks. But now, what are chunks? What are collocations? Chunks are a group of words that can be found together. Are typical words that already have a meaning, okay? Like at the end of the day, by the way, in the morning, at the night, in the other hand, and so on. And now we have collocations. Collocations are a little different. Here we can have verbs plus preposition plus nouns or plus another nouns and even adverbs. Okay, for example, I do my hair, do the homework, do the laundry, a verb and a noun. Make some cupcakes. Cupcakes, aren't they delicious? Yes, cupcakes are delicious. And make up the problem or make the dinner. So, in the previous examples, in the sentence, I like to go to the park. In the lexical approach, we will divide this sentence into I like and to go to the park. Both of them are collocation. I like and go to the park. These are collocation. 1 and 2 pieces instead of 6. So the main objective is to make the building of sentences easier and less focus on grammar.
Hello, my name is Leonardo Santos, and now we are going to see a little bit about the creator of the precursor of this lexical approach. And to start with this, I'm going to mention that Lewis revitalized the second foreign language teaching with the publication um, of this text, the lexical approach. Language was to be seen as a collection, as my uh, partner already mentioned, and not of words, but of linguistic chunks. Um, the fluent speaker was one of who was aware of linguistic chunks, who had vast numbers of chunks stored in memory, and who could retrieve and combine them quickly and effectively. Uh, Teachers with this method um, were to move from the present practice and produce. This is a kind of model of language instructions. Lewis present fundamentals in lexical approach. One of them, as we already mentioned, is collections. Collections involves knowing typical and frequent word combinations, claims for non-linear development of collection skills are examined from an immigrant and of the English language learner in a high school population. Also, Lewis' works is influential in the field of adult English and first language. It is also gaining in popularity as an approach in the field of English as a second language for both adults and school age populations. His ideas are still very new in the United States, and he suggests that the lexical approach, especially the teaching of collections, has a great deal to offer to the American teacher um, additional language at bad levels. So this is a little bit about the lexical approach about the Lewis. So I think that'll be all about Michael Lewis, and we will continue with the presentation.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Angela Fonseca, and I'm going to talk about a student's role. So what is the role of the student? First, learners assume an active role in chunk-based approaches to learning. Second, learners are also encouraged to monitor their learning of chunks and to review chunks they have encountered. For example, they could do a simple activity such as reading text in which they will incorporate the lexical approach and be encouraged to identify and record lexical fragments and fixed phrases. Also, students must be analyzers of real life language examples because of the idea of learning as discovers. And learners need training, in how to use concordance effectively. Hence, teaching assistance will be necessary to lead the learner. For instance, through the different stages of lexical analysis, such as observation, classification, and generalization. Next slide, please. What is the role of the teacher? First, the teacher's role is to create an environment where learners can operate effectively and then help learning manage their learning, particularly concerning lexicality. Therefore, this requires that teachers abound the idea of the teacher as a knower and concentrate instead on the concept of the learner as the discoverer. Teachers need to understand and manage a classroom methodology based on stages composed of tasks, planning, and reports, or as we know it, as task-based language teaching. And finally, teachers need to spend more time helping learners develop their efficiency in lexical phrases, word, word combinations, and less time on grammatical structures. And that's it.
Okay, so now let's talk about lexical approach characteristics. Okay, as you can see here, the first characteristic says it is a method of teaching foreign languages. And why is that? Well, basically because this method has the purpose that the foreign learner can communicate by using the language, but not by following grammar rules, as my partner already mentioned, but instead, using the language like in nature way. That's mean, for example, if the teacher wants to use that method in a classroom, probably she or he will teach idiom expressions, phrasal verbs, chunks, and etc. And the second characteristic says the lexical approach concentrates on developing learners' proficiency with lexis and word combinations. In my opinion, I think this method is focused on communication, not perfection, because as I mentioned before, it's totally different with the grammar structures, grammar rules, something like that. And as it mentions here, the learners use our lexis and word combinations. Sometimes it will be really easier for the learners because there are some of the sentences that probably doesn't follow the grammar structure, but it has sense. For example, while I was looking for information, I found this example of phrasal verbs that says take out. I hope you can see, okay? Take out. Those are two words, okay? But we as foreign learners, we know that have a meaning that basically means to remove something, right? Another example that I can give you is come back. Come back, two words that have a meaning that says return, okay? And the last one is like idiomatic or idiom expression that, oh my goodness, I think I showed the wrong one. Well, okay, the example is hold your horse, hold your horses. Of course, we cannot translate that in a literal way, right? We know that this idiomatic expression means be patient. So basically, this is the purpose of this method that tries that the learner or the student can communicate using a daily conversation or expressions. The third characteristic says, Lexis plays the central role as its name says. Yes, of course, because the name of the method is lexical approach, right? So Lexis plays a central role. However, Lexis is not just vocabulary. Of course not, because teacher cannot just go to the classroom and start the class like, okay, guys, today we are going to learn this vocabulary. Okay, pencil, pen, scissor. No, it's not like that. I mean, we need to involve those words by combining with other words in order that the students can use those new words or the vocabulary in a daily conversation, right? And finally, something that I consider it is really important is that this approach establishes the centrality of the lexical to language structure and the importance of lexical units that are learned and used as a single items. Okay, I think to conclude or to keep in mind is that this method is focused on communication, not perfection, no grammar rules, just communication. So now my partner will continue explaining the next part of this presentation.
Hello, everyone. Which audience to addresses? The lexical approach is for students who are learning a new language. Our principal focuses in levels 1 and level 2. It is a words beginnings level. This method focuses in two ways: analyzing and teaching language based on ideas. Both are composed of lexical units. We need to remember something. These are usually children do not know how to write and how to read something, or people who are beginning to learn as a second language. For this reason, they are not focusing on grammatical structure. Uh, I think this is a good topic, the lexical approach, because suggests the use of the word combination to teach not only the vocabulary of a language, but also indirectly teach rules of grammar. This is all. I hope you enjoy our presentation. Thank you.